Everton 0, Manchester United 1, 3 points away from home. Little step closer into the top four. Little bit of a secure, more secure position. We capitalized. Finally, I mean, it wasn't. I'm gonna be quite honest here. Not to be the negative super person, but I mean that performance by us was quite shit. It was very frustrating to watch. Ultimately, we got the job done, and you know what's most important is we got 3 points. But large parts of that game really was very frustrating to watch, very annoying. You know, and we managed to get the goal, and we managed to get the 3 points, and we managed to win the game, and we managed to capitalize. So happy on that. But I'm very disappointed in sort of the overall performance of the team. I mean, you know, it was a bit hard to celebrate the goal. Not that I didn't celebrate, but it was a bit hard to celebrate because, I mean, we didn't really do anything in the match the whole game. And it was, again, it was a game I sat there and I was just like, why is it every time we have an opportunity like this, we come out and we play like we've won the Premier League and this match is a formality and like we can't really be bothered? Too much. Too often, too slow. I mean, I have a whole list of things here that I wrote down just so that I can accurately remember the feelings of what I was going through throughout the match. First half, too slow, weak, soft, lacking urgency, uncreative, lack of ideas. What was the plan of the attack? Sleeping. We were sleeping. Decision making was atrocious. Execution of passing in the final ball was abysmal, and there was a lack of cohesion between the teams. So, you know, I'm not happy with a lot of the performances from the player, but I am happy that we managed to listen. Sometimes the matches in football, they go this way, and I said it past couple days ago. Not every game is going to be pretty. Not every game is going to be, you know, an amazing game to watch, but teams that go on to do something, achieve some sort of substance in the season, they will figure out how to get the win. And I have to give them credit for that very much. Okay, we didn't concede to Everton. We didn't let up a goal. Not that they were great either, but we didn't concede to them. And we figured out how to put one into the back of the net. And ultimately, the match ended 1-0 to us. And we got plus 3 points, which is the utmost importance, right? But, I mean, Cesco saving us again. Okay, Cesco saving us again. I believe somewhere I have statistics for this, which they gave us. Where is it? Where is it? Too many tweets. Too many tweets. I don't know. I'll find it later. It's some, Benjamin Cesco has now scored 6 goals in 2026. 8 goals this season so far for his first season at Manchester United. So he's come on again and saved us yet again. Get in the chat. Let me know what you're feeling. Let me know what you think. How the match went. You know, it was one of those matches. I mean, even in the second half, you know, the first 10 minutes we came out, it was sort of the same stuff from the first half. We didn't really change. Too many times, our players not reading the pressure from Everton. Okay, we were getting caught in a lot of 2v1s, 3v1s. We were taking too long on the ball. You know, we weren't reading the situation. You know, where was the situational awareness from the players? You know, again, this lackadaisy sort of. Too often we just like, it just feels like we're going through the motions, and that to me irritates the shit out of me. I'm quite irritated. I can't sit here and pretend like everything is okay. I'm gonna be Mr. Positive, because that performance was quite shit. You know, I feel a bit fortunate that actually we got the 3 points, because I don't think we did enough really to score goals at all. And if Everton weren't as shit as they were, and they managed to put the ball into the net before we did, well, then the game would have probably went a very different way, and we would be sitting here having a very different conversation. So I'm not going to just throw everything under the bridge and put a Band-Aid over it and mask it because we got 3 points. It's just not how it can be. Axe says, yay, we won. Ben Cesco, like Sean Connery, says Lawrence. Well, here's the thing. It's just, listen, we were too individual, okay? Too individual today. I mean, Cunha, listen, brilliant pass on the goal, but for the rest of the time that he played the game, held the ball too long. Again, was one of these players that kept getting caught in 2v1s, 3v1s, and it wasn't coming off. He was losing the ball, getting tackled. Bruno was not good today. Kobe wasn't good today. Diallo wasn't good today. There was a lot of players that weren't good today. And these are the sort of the midfield attacking players that we needed them to be doing things with the ball. Nobody was... a lot of the times, Kobe picks it up, or Cass picks it up, or somebody picks it up, and nobody's moving. Everybody's static, and again, it's a 3-on-1 in the middle of the field. Nobody's coming to support him. He's getting closed down, whoever it may be with the ball, because it happened to everybody. It happened to a lot of players. They're getting closed down on the ball. They're slow to react to that initially, the player with the ball, and then their teammates, okay, nobody's coming to help them with the pressure. Nobody's coming to relieve them. Nobody's coming to give them an opportunity, to get rid of the ball and move. So, great defensive work from Cunha, says Axe. Lucky says, not great game, but 3 points more important. Well, listen, yes. Ultimately, the 3 points, it's very good that we've capitalized on this situation, okay? Because in the past, we probably, either would have drew this 0-0 or we would have lost, 1-0 or something like that. So it's good that we took that step. But I still, again, it's just it's eating away at me. I can't help it. I'm not trying to do this on purpose or anything like that. It's just genuinely how I feel. I feel very disappointed by the performance. I was very frustrated watching that performance. It was pissing me off. The players were pissing me off. The way we were playing was pissing me off. I don't like to see my team do that. Listen, if we didn't score that goal and this match ended 0-0, I'd be ranting and raving right now. Okay, I'm not ranting and raving. I'm calmly, calling out the things that I saw that weren't good. But again, it's like the part that's bothering me, the part that's eating inside of me. Okay, it's where is the urgency from the players to go attack, to go win the game? We're in this sort of situation again. We're in this situation where we have a chance to take a little bit of advantage of what, our rivals have done during the weekend. Okay? And again, we come out in this match. It's like we've won the Premier League. It's like we're playing a friendly or something. Okay? We were getting out-muscled. We couldn't win any of the duels. All right, we looked soft, we looked weak. Everton were reacting to most of the balls, 50-50s and whatnot, and situational, things going on in the pitch. They were reacting quicker than us. These are basics in a Manchester United team that I expect Manchester United players to be doing week in, week out. And I have a cause for concern because we've been here before and we've done this before. Okay? We did it against City. We did it against Arsenal. We showed it against Fulham. Then it started, it's slowly it's going down. Slowly it's going down. We lost it against West Ham. Okay? And today we didn't really show it against Everton. Now we figured out how to score a goal and get 3 points, but the overall performance, was not great at all. And I am a bit concerned. I am a bit concerned about this because the more we're going away from the beginning, it seems like I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's complacency by the players. They seem to get maybe too comfortable in their sort of situation. But definitely, if you take the energy and the levels from what we just saw in today's game, and you compare it to what we did against City, or you compare it to what we did against Arsenal, okay, we were totally flat. Totally flat. Totally flat. I think we kept on making wrong decisions. Midfielder, well, everybody was making wrong decisions. It was really poor decision making from a lot of the players. I mean, you know, Cunha, bad passes. Bruno, bad passes. Kobe, I don't listen. For me, okay, and I'm not saying the whole world is Kobe's fault, but I played that position, okay, and I was very disappointed in Kobe's performance today. Okay, the same thing with Bruno Fernandes. For me, those two guys, all right, did not do enough when they got on the ball. They were not doing enough. They were not looking to drive the ball forward enough, and it was too static from them. Too many times slowing the ball down and passing it 5 feet from left to right, and I don't really understand that. I don't get it. I don't get the game plan in that sense for most of the game. I don't understand why we were slowing it down so much. I don't understand why our more forward players past the midfield, I don't understand why they don't make more runs. I don't understand why they don't try to break the lines more, because all of them are coming short and they're sitting and they're marked. And what you need to do in that situation, in my opinion, is you need to start putting more pressure on the back line. You got to make runs. You got to put pressure on the defenders. You got to get them thinking twice, not sitting there comfortable knowing because, well, he's checking in for the ball. He ain't going nowhere. So I could just sit here right in front of him, wait for him to get the ball, and then we press him. You know, and we played into sort of the game plan for Everton. They were doing their thing, and we weren't doing enough to try and put pressure on their defense. Way too often. We need to learn to open tight defenses. Well, that's and I agree 100%, Dax. And this is what I'm sort of hitting on here. Again, you know, if you look at our wide players, okay, everybody checks in. They run forward, they stop, and then they put their back to goal, and they just sit there. And I think in these situations, you need at least 2 of them, 3 of the forward players, to start making in runs. Somebody make a diagonal run, somebody make a run straight, go run. And then everybody else has to push up. You got to drag that defensive line. You got to drag the defense, the opposing team. You got to drag them back to open up more space for the midfielders. Then the midfielders need to do their job. If there is space, you need to carry the ball forward. You need to progress the ball forward. Not pass it 5 feet to your left and 5 feet to your right. You pass it to the guy, passes it to you back. You pass it back to him, and we've done nothing with the ball. And then you pass it back to the defender. And then we got the defenders, the center backs, launching the balls over the top, which, I don't know, call me crazy, but I would prefer our midfielders, who you would expect to have a better passing range, a better passing ability, to be sending those balls over the top if that's what we're going to do. I also think it's a bit, you know, we're sending balls into the air. We got Ahmad and Mbuemo switching into the striker, the 2 smallest players on the pitch. But looks Everton were much taller and bigger. They were. They were much taller and bigger, and I think that's why when Cesco came on, and I said that I advocated, I think Cesco should have started the game. That was sort of my pre-match prediction, that Cesco should start the game because of based off of what we saw at West Ham, and Everton were stronger than us, they're tougher than us, and they have a bit more height than us. And Cesco came on, and he did well in that area because he's somebody that can match them. He's somebody that can match them. So, lucky, Eric, I know he didn't have urgency. Everton had much ball amount crossing crazy. DJ says, hello, mate. It's been a while. I see you are your usual happy self with our win. Well, DJ, did you win? Did you watch the match? Or, you know. I'm not one of these guys. Listen, if you wanna show with somebody that's gonna pretend like we just played the most scintillating football and there isn't concerns of the display that we just watched for 90 minutes, and you want me to be, let me put on clown paint and be all Mr. Cheery and happy. We got 3 points, everybody. Everybody clap your hands. Yay. We got 3 points. Let's not talk about any of the bad stuff. Let's completely ignore that. Let's completely just pretend like none of it happened because we have 3 points. So now we have to be happy. We are not allowed to criticize anything. We can't be real about anything. We can't have a real conversation. No. We have to be fake because we got 3 points. So now we just need to pretend like we are the greatest in the world and only talk about the positives. Only speak about the positives. Only talk about... but that's the problem that I have. What positives are really there in the game other than we put the ball into the back of the net and we got 3 points? I don't know if I could do a show for an hour talking about Cesco scored a great goal and that was that one good play in basically the whole entire match, and we got 3 points and now we're in 4. Carrick's unbeaten in 6. It's very good. And we're continuing that front. And, we look forward to the next match and hopefully our players step it up. But, we're going to go play home, so I expect them to step it up. They can't continue to play the way they played today or against West Ham. We need to go back up levels. We've dropped levels a little bit. I am concerned about that. But, yes, so many wrong passes, something I want manager to tell players. We need to improve a lot if we desire UCL football. And, Axe, I think, you're hitting the nail on the head here. And this is sort of the main point that I've been talking about. It might be good, it might be okay, and it might be good enough for now and for this season. And, we'll get Champions League football with what this is. But I always have a worry about the next step, where are we going from here? And always, I see this sort of stuff in these types of matches and I go, well, we clearly need to go up a level or 2 for next season because next season's going to be a different beast. It's going to be a different animal and we're going to be in UCL. That's not going to be, that's not a joke competition. So we need to make moves because when I say this team isn't good enough, I'm talking about the peak. I'm talking about the pinnacle. I'm talking about doing really well in Champions League. I'm talking about doing really well in the Premier League in terms of we actually can, sustain a conversation where we are in the fight for the Premier League for basically most of the season if we don't end up winning it. But at least be, there from, the beginning of the season to the very end. Make a go for it. And we do. We need to improve a lot, Axe. We do. We need to improve a lot when we get into these conversations. Everton do not let you do that. They played very well. Closed us down. It's a moist, relax, we won. No. DJ, did you watch the game? We are super slow. Do I have to run down the list again? The first half... so slow at decision making. So slow. Where is the urgency to go forward with the ball? Where is the urgency? I would argue there's a little bit lack of an IQ there, okay? Because I can see it. They can't see it when they're on the pitch. I have an aerial view that I'm watching. Okay, but you can see some of the spaces. You can see some of the decisions the players should make, they don't make. You can quite clearly see that there's too many times we're not killers. We're not going for the kill. Why are we slowing the game down? Why? There is no reason. So many moments in that match, there's no reason to slow the game down. We actually need to do the opposite because like you're saying, okay, Everton don't let you do that. Well, they do when they go forward and they do when you get the ball and they do when they don't got that many numbers back. But if you have a midfielder and he picks up the ball and he decides instead of continuing to run forward to turn around, slow it down and pass it backwards and start again, well, you're letting Everton get back into position. That's the thing. That's I saw it way too many times in the match. It wasn't a pretty game. It wasn't. And it was one which we had to grind out, and we did. let's just give thanks. We are still in the top 4. And listen, I'm thankful for that, but I'm still going to call out what I seen from the players. No doubt about it. Reynoso says, at this point, what's up, Reynoso? How you doing, buddy? At this point, they didn't sign in January, so these are the same players that go missing sometimes, so continue to expect performances like these, and be thankful for the defensive work and 3 points. Well, listen, it is a clean sheet as well, okay? And the defense, they did their job, all right? Lemons, beautiful saves as well. You know, and again, you could see one of his weaknesses is sort of coming out for those crosses from the corners and getting a punch on it, but ultimately, you know, he did good enough to deal with them, okay, because we didn't concede from them, and you know, no sort of good chance really came from it, okay. He's still a little bit shaky for me on it. It's still a little bit of lacking confidence in terms of, you know, for me, I feel like there could always be a possibility that, you know, he fucks up the punch or doesn't get there properly, doesn't, you know, get strong enough punch to it, and, you know, something bad will happen from it, but it didn't happen. But he needs to grow in that area a little bit more, but otherwise, you know, still, again, he's been really good since he's come in. Lenny, today, for me, Lenny was not, he was another one that wasn't that great, a bit too shaky. Okay, at times, and he was just lacking a bit of confidence, and he was lacking a bit of, again, he was another one of these players lacking a little bit of sort of situational awareness, sort of reading the situation, the game, okay? There was a couple times where he had the ball, and he sort of misjudged the opposing player of how quick they were, if they were going to be able to get the ball from him. He got caught in some situations that you don't want your center back to get caught into, okay? But those are minor things. Those are fixable things. But yeah, he was one of those players as well today. I mean, listen, he hasn't played much, you know, since Carrick has come in, especially, and you know, he sort of had a downturn on form in sort of the last few matches under Ruben. So, you know, 19, he's still got to find his feet. You know, I look at sort of players, and Kobe's young too. Listen, he's going to have a game where, or whatever, it's not going to be the best. My thing is more on like maybe somebody like Bruno, who is the captain, more experienced. You expect him not to really drop down to the levels that he dropped down to today, okay? You know, he was, you know, another one. Passing wasn't great, all over the place. Indecisiveness, taking too long on the ball, losing the ball, sloppy. And listen, the conditions didn't help, but I can't really accept that as a sort of an excuse, okay? The conditions didn't help. It was very slippery out there. The match was sloppy in general from both teams. You know, it's a bit hard to control the ball and stuff like that, but it is what it is. DJ, I don't care. If you're still here, DJ, let me tell you one thing. I don't give a fuck. Goodbye. You are depressing. You are a strange and weird individual. You are depressing. Goodbye. Get the fuck out. Get out. I don't care. Fuck off. You piss me off, bro. You piss me off. You are a weirdo seeking attention. I don't give a fuck. I'm here talking to people that want to have a conversation. You want to come in here and be a weirdo? Go ahead and be a weirdo. Depressing as usual. You're fucking depressing. How about that? Had enough of these fucking weirdos. Andresito here says, I agree. It wasn't a good watch. Oh, Andresito, don't say that. It's depressing, bro. It's depressing. DJ's gonna get all depressed and shit. Don't say things like that, Andresito. We're not allowed to talk like real fucking fans. You know, we're not allowed to talk like real fans. We gotta be fucking bitches. We gotta be soft bitches and pretend like we are the greatest ever in history. And you know, I don't get these people, but whatever. Andresito says, I agree. It wasn't a good watch, but teams like these do the same. To Liverpool, Manchester City, etc. No, listen, I get it. Okay, I understand that factor. And you know, they've done it to Arsenal. Okay, they do it all the time. And I say this: there's a reason why teams do this, because it is at some level effective. It's not going to win you the title. Okay, no team that plays the way that, the West Hams of this world, or the Evertons of this world, or the Sean Dyches of this world, that's not title-winning football. But it is effective in the case of, listen, if you're a mid-table club, it can definitely get you mid-table. Maybe it could get you a little bit higher. It secures your position in the table. So I get it. But my onus is more from our side, okay? Again, I understand if there's not space. I understand if they make it hard. But our performance, the way the way we went about the match, the way we tried to attack the match, the way we tried to create in the match, the game plan itself was not one that I agree with. I don't agree with it. I don't like it. I don't think that it was a good one, to be quite honest. I think it was quite poor. Again, I want to see a little bit more responsibility. I want to see a little bit more of our players sort of stepping up to the challenge, taking the game to them, being more aggressive, being more confident, being more, I just really felt like we were really flat. We were really flat today. We were. And it was good. Again, I said this, and it is definitely a big positive, and it is definitely a big thing, okay? These matches will happen. The thing I don't like is that it's sort of back-to-back, because it's West Ham and it's Everton. And, I just keep thinking, and I'm like, you think of the levels we hit against City and Arsenal and even Fulham, and you compare it to these last, and it just seems like we've gone down a bit. We've dipped down a bit, okay? And I get a bit concerned about that, because that can carry over into the next match. And next thing, before you know it, we go into a match and we're suffering an L, where we don't obviously want to suffer an L, and we get quite beaten. We need to step it back up against Crystal Palace now, okay? We're going to be home, all right? And we need to sort of spin it back around, okay? I would like the team, we struggled to score against West Ham. We struggled to score against Everton. We scored one in each. We go against Crystal Palace. We're home. They're not going to make it easy either. There's no really easy match in the Premier League, but at home, I want to see United be a bit more confident, going forward a lot more, being sort of decisive with it, quick with it, have the intent of, we're attacking, we're going to fucking bombard you, we're going to create loads of chances, and we're going to score a few goals, and I didn't really get that feeling from the team today. We have been getting better. We need better players. Well, yes, listen, the performances have obviously generally picked up on Jacito, and we do need better players. And that's not even like a slight at any of them. I mean, you look at the bench today, okay? And I'm sorry, but that bench didn't fill me with confidence before the game and during the game. Because I sit there and I say, before the match, I'm looking at it and I go, out of all the players on the bench here, the only one that I have any sort of sense of confidence that might be able to change the game for us, if we need to change the game, if we are in trouble, if we are slacking, if we are lacking in the match, is Benjamin Cesco. I'm looking at the rest of that bench and I'm like, you're not going to put on a guard day if we need a little bit more oomph in the team. If we need a little bit more spark, if we need a little bit more magic, he ain't going to do it. I don't feel that about Xerxes. And the rest of them are either defensive players or, we had two kids there, but still, they're not really midfielders. They're not wingers, and they ain't strikers. So, and those are really the players for me that are going to, in the positions that are going to come and change the game. We don't have them. Now, obviously, Mount is out, but that's just one guy. All right. Lisandro not starting today, not playing. Not starting, not playing. He wasn't in the squad. He picked up a slight injury. Carrick said it doesn't seem like it's that bad. I could hear some of the people right now freaking out because injury prone and this and that because he suffered. I think he should be back for Crystal Palace. I mean, we had 2 weeks off. How bad of an injury could it have really been? Maybe he just picked it up sort of late right before this game and just, wasn't going to happen. But I don't expect it to, but I mean, if Lisandro now goes missing, okay, for who knows how many games, sort of like Matthijs de Ligt, I mean, that's just really unfortunate. And then we're going to have a more serious conversation about Lisandro Martinez and his future, because ultimately we need players that can stay fit. I think Maguire did good today and did well. He was sort of the leader back there. And, on Maguire, one of the things that he's really gotten better at is he's gotten better at reading the situations on the pitch. He's gotten better at reading the game. Okay, he steps up when he needs to step up. He reads the direction of the ball. He reads the play well. That's the thing that Maguire has gotten way better at since he started here. Okay, because when he started here, he was sort of this goofy, clumsy, just not it center back, and he's not that anymore. Now he's calm, composed, he's strong, he's convicted, he makes the correct decisions, he reads the play correctly, and he makes an impact on the play. Axe says they've gotten relaxed as the playing positions are settled. Everyone knows they will be playing in the next match, like who's on the bench other than Cesco. Well, I think that's another good point as well, Axe, and that's sort of a different angle to kind of what I was saying, but it kind of goes hand in hand. And I think actually, you know what? There might be a bit of complacency in that sort of situation as well, Axe, I think, listen, and I don't think, sometimes it's not even as straightforward as you're there, okay? It's not like all the players are sitting there and they're like premeditating, like, fuck yeah, like who's taking my spot? I'm in. And looking at the bench, it's sort of like a subconscious thing. You just become relaxed in sort of the routines, in sort of the situation. You're not really worried about losing your position. You become a bit more relaxed. You know that there's nobody that's really there. Okay, if you're a winger, who's coming in for you? We don't got wingers. All right. If you're playing in the midfield and you're Kobe and you're Cass, who's coming in for you? Ogarte's not coming in for you. He's nowhere close to you. Okay, and he ain't even getting any minutes. So it's not like, I don't think they actually think about it, though. I think it's just more of a subconscious thing of just like, they know they're going to play every week. They know they're in their positions, and you just subconsciously, you get a bit, you lower your guard. It's like, sort of like, I don't know, if you ever started a new job, out there in the real world, okay, when you go into the job, sometimes you go in there, you're a bit like sort of nervous and stuff because you want to make a good first impression. You don't want, you don't really want to make mistakes. You don't want to look bad. You want to, show that like, you're worthy of sort of the position that you're in, or, the job that you've been hired for. So you kind of walking around a little bit on eggshells, which is, it's good, but it's bad. It's bad, but it's also good. It keeps you sort of on your toes, and it keeps you sort of motivated to that sort of sense. But then what happens? Like after a while, a lot of people, generally human being wise, okay, you're there for 2 years, 3 years, whatever it is, right? And you pretty much know that, like, the boss likes you. Your position is safe. There's other people at your job that they can't do the things you do. You might be going in there, maybe you're giving 75% now instead of 100, or maybe 110 or 120, because you're just like, yeah, I got this, and you become a little bit complacent because we are human beings, and we do tend to do that. So Renosa said, I don't know, I kind of expect these games from Bruno too. When the going gets tough, I've seen him have an abysmal 90 minutes and still come up with 2 assists. I just don't have tons of confidence in our squad. Well, I mean, that is, I mean, listen, they the squad still has a bit of Jekyll and Hyde in them. Okay, I don't think I don't think that aspect has totally gone away. And sometimes, I don't know, it's like a game we play. You know, sometimes it's a little bit more, we hide it more or we show it more. You know what I mean? And it comes and goes and it moves. And it's quite, I don't know, it's quite hard to pinpoint. You know, it's quite hard to, you see the shift, you feel the shift, you feel the difference, you see the difference. But it's almost like, it's hard to sort of pinpoint what it is that actually makes them do this. It's sort of hard to, you know, it's almost like a light switch. It's almost like a, you know, a thermostat meter to a certain degree. No pun intended, but, you know, it just, the temperature seems to shift a lot. And, you know, I don't know what it is. I really don't know what it is, because it's like, how many different managers does this keep happening under? And how many different sorts of like squads of players that we're gonna have, and it still happens. You know, what really is it? You know, whatever it is, it's got to be dealt with. It needs to be sorted out. It needs to be taken care of, because we can't have that in a team that is ultimately going to grow into a team that is going to win league titles and trophies and be a top performing club. You can't have that aspect. And or you have to negate it down to, like, you know, 5%, 10%. Right now, it's very still sort of all over the place. Lawrence says Michael doubts Southgate conservatism. We don't train for 2 weeks. We get rusty, and Leach still gets injured. Well, listen, people say that. People have been saying that, Lawrence, and to me, it's just like, I mean, I mean, I guess I understand it, but also at the same time, it's like, it's part of the sport. You can get injured at any time, at any moment. Okay, you do a training 2-3 days before the match, you can get injured in training. You know, somebody can do a stupid tackle. Somebody can step on your foot. You know, you can, I don't know, twist your ankle in the ground or something like that. I don't know. Like, you know, shit happens. So, I don't know. To me, that aspect is like, it's just part of the game. It happens. It's unfortunate. I don't think, like, I kind of feel like it's a bit nitpicky, because I've seen people sort of saying the same thing of that, like, we haven't played for 2 weeks and we're getting injuries, and it's just like, yeah, we could get an injury at any moment at time. Literally, a player can fucking slip down their stairs at home and get injured. You know, it's like life. Like, shit happens. But who knows? I mean, I wasn't there during the training. What if, you know, it has nothing to do with Lisandro? What if fucking one of our players was stupid and slide tackled him and injured him? Like, what? He's not supposed to get injured? You know, if it's not his fault, like, you know, one of our other players maybe put in a hard tackle on him. They shouldn't have done it. But it's like, what? Because we don't play a game, they can't get injured? Shit happens all the time. So, Carrick said that it wasn't that bad. He said it was minor. So, I mean, based off of those comments, I expect him to be back for the next match. If he's not, well, we'll have to have a conversation about it. Don't like Casemiro either, taken easy. Yeah, Casemiro, again, you know, that midfield sort of was a little bit too holy at time, and not in a good sense, you know, not godly, okay? Too holy in terms of, there was too many times where I felt like we couldn't really get a grasp of, you know, moments in the match, because we just couldn't get the ball back in the midfield. Lauren says, I would like to see Bruno next season. I wouldn't like to see Bruno next season either. Prefer a player like we got an update about that before the match, and it seemed the update was that it seems most likely that Bruno Fernandes will be here next season. That is the update that we were given. And I have nothing against Bruno, and I like Bruno. I think Bruno is a good player. He just had a really shit game today. But he's still been, you know, he's still one of our most impactful and one of our better players and one of our best players at times. And, you know, he's been our best post-Fergie signing. So, I don't blame Leach. No, well, I'm not saying you blame Leach. I'm just saying like the way people are saying it. It's like they expect that like it's I don't know the way people and I'm not saying you, Lawrence. I'm just saying like I seen people online make that sort of similar comment. Okay, and the way people are saying it, it's like unfathomable that a player, just because we didn't play for 2 weeks, a player has picked up an injury. It's like, you do understand, like, that literally can happen at any moment in time. They could get injured on their way to the game. They can literally walk out of the bus and fall down the steps by accident because we're human beings, and you can fuck up a step or something, okay? We've all done it, nobody's perfect, and you can literally get injured from fucking falling down the steps of the bus, okay? Like, you can trip over the sidewalk, all right? Shit happens. Like, to me, it's like, I just saw that, okay? Like, for me, I was like, oh, Leach is not starting. Or I was like, Leach is not in the team. I was like, I hope he's all right. And then I saw Carrick's comments, and he said it wasn't that big of a deal. And I was like, okay, well, Leach is not playing today. I was like, all right, let's go Lenny, let's go Maguire. And that was it. I see people like making comments like, oh, we haven't played for 2 weeks and Leach is getting injured now. Like, how is that happening? And it's like, what? Really? Like, that's not even a thing to talk about. Like, it happens. Like, they play football. They're men. I would expect them to be training hard. Shit happens. But all season, coach picks a winning team and doesn't adapt to opposition. Well, yeah, maybe so, but I think Carrick, at the very least, and you know what, maybe Ruben. Well, I think their situations were a bit different. I think Ruben was trying to, and I think they do this for a reason, again, as well. Right now, I don't think that they're changing much. One, because, again, you look at that bench, there's not much to change anyway. I'm sorry, those guys on the bench, besides Benjamin Cesco, because he's the only one that's been coming on and actually making an impact and doing things and scoring goals, and he's, showing, like, hey, I'm trying to get back into the starting team. I'm making a case for myself on the pitch, all right? But everybody else on there, defenders are defenders, okay? Like, centre-backs are centre-backs. It's a bit of a different story. My mind is like midfield, wingers, strikers. Players that are going to do things on the pitch that are going to help us put the ball into the net and get as many goals so we could get the points. I look there and it's like, I feel like if I was the manager, I'd probably be doing the same thing, because I'm looking at the team and I'm just like, to be honest, I don't feel very confident in those guys. I don't feel so, like, I'm going to take out Embuemo and I'm going to put in Xerxes at striker. Or I'm going to take out Cunha and put in, we don't even have options, really. We had Delo go basically to winger, okay? There's not really options there. Those guys on the bench, they don't fill me with confidence in terms of they're going to get the job done. And we're starting a match and we need 3 points. I'm going with the strongest players. I'm going with the strongest players we have. And the strongest players we have are the players that are starting every game. And then after that, it's like, well, we either don't have the players in the positions that we need. Okay, we have a lack of wingers. All right, we're missing a couple guys. We're missing Dorgu. We're missing Mount. Okay, so it's like, I look at it from there and I'm like, I think you have to go with the same team, because I think it's too big of a risk to try and switch it around with these other guys that, sorry, they don't fill me with confidence in their ability. I think you take a player or two out of the starting lineup, you take a player or two from the bench besides Benjamin Cesco, and it's like, well, we're taking a step down. But, we're actually going down. It's not a step up. It's not level sort of quality. We're actually taking a step down in quality. So I don't really think that they deserve to get in there. And I think also what the big point that I was going to get into on that was I do think, and we talked about this a little bit, but we were talking about, okay, remember the conversation. We'll have more time on the training ground because, no European football. We'll play less matches. We'll be able to practice more. We'll be able to train more. It'll be good for us. We'll be more fresh. We'll be more fit because we're playing less matches a week. But I've been talking about the aspect of carrying that feeling, okay? When you play on a Monday or you play on a Sunday, okay, and your next match isn't until Sunday or Monday, and everybody else is playing either twice a week or 3 times a week or close to it, okay? There's a yin and a yang to everything. There's good and bad for everything. There's positives and negatives for everything. Is it true that we should be more fit, more fresh? Sure. But I keep talking about this aspect, and I think today it also played in, okay? To try and carry the momentum and the feeling of what you did in your last match when it is 7 days later as opposed to maybe 4 days later or 3 days later, okay? Or even 5 days later. I do think it's a bit more difficult to do to continue with that sort of feeling, that sort of momentum when it's stretched out in a longer period. I think this is why even Ruben, but also Carrick, is doing this thing where he's sort of playing the same guys constantly, because to carry that is already hard enough. Then to make changes as well, okay? I think it disrupts too much. I think it's too much sort of disruption. So I think they're trying to carry sort of the same, just rhythm, the same sort of, just keep going the same way and keep it rolling and keep it rolling and keep it rolling. And I think today was a little bit like that as well. We didn't play, for 2 weeks, so it was double what we usually do. And I think that sort of played into what we saw today as well. All right. We did look a lot more sloppy, albeit the conditions weren't great, but we did look more sloppy. We were, we did have some flat performances from players. The team was sort of flat as well. And I think it was, I talked about it last time and I said, listen, when I do my shows, all right, if I don't do a show for a week or two, okay, I come back, it always feels a little bit strange. The flow isn't there. The rhythm isn't there. It's not as good. I notice it. I know for sure. I can feel it while I'm doing them. All right. Like when I go on vacation and sometimes, I'm not doing a show for like 2 weeks and I come back and do a show. I'm a little bit out of sync. I'm a little bit out of rhythm. When I'm doing the shows here and I'm doing 3, 4, 5, 6 shows a week, and you're going from one show to the next show, from one day to the next day, it's easy to keep the momentum, the flow, the feeling, the rhythm rolling. You're just going. You're just going. And I think this is what's happening sort of with our team. It's a bit difficult to keep that rhythm, to keep that feeling, that feeling of you having a good game, that feeling of the team playing well, and sort of having that connection, that understanding with your teammates and what you just did in that match. And then you have to you go do it 1 week later and that feeling sort of has crept away a little bit. Okay. Cause it's what happens with time and things like that. Lauren says we have a very thin squad because our youth management has not worked out. No, I think one of the problems we have, really, to me, I don't know, maybe you're right, maybe not. I haven't really given that aspect some thought, Lawrence. The one thing that comes to mind to me right now is, and I think it's the biggest and obvious one, is that obviously when we had Ruben, we were doing the 3-back thing. So our team and our squad, and we were going in a different direction. We needed certain sort of different positions, players with different sorts of abilities and qualities. We were using wing backs and not like wingers. And it's a bit different now, and because we changed the shape back again and we sort of did, we got rid of Rashford, we got rid of Anthony. If we stayed playing a 4-2-3-1 that whole time when we got rid of them, I'm sure we would have ended up getting another winger, even Sancho as well. I'm sure we would have ended up getting another winger, but because we went to go play the way we were playing, we didn't really do that because, and we're missing Dorgu, right? Who, listen, was supposed to be a left wing back, but he sort of turned into a midfielder, like a winger like an actual winger before he got injured. So, but, listen, the youth would help if we could develop some more of them, but that's always sort of going to take time, and none of them are really any guarantee. We're lucky if we get one or two out of the bunch that actually make it, okay, and if we had sort of a golden generation, then yeah, that would be good too. But real quick, guys, please smash the like button if you haven't done so already. If you're new and you enjoy the content, make sure you subscribe, join the community, join the family. We have a Discord as well. You get in there. And also, listen, if you're new, don't be shy and you want to join the conversation, get involved. We'll have a conversation. We'll chat. We'll talk. Don't be afraid. Don't be scared just because you're new. And don't think you'll get aired or anything, okay? We respect whoever can have a decently good conversation here and give us some high quality comments and insights, okay? We love the discussion and we love opinions as long as, it's something that is of substance, okay? We don't really have time for nonsense. We like to have fun, but no time for just absolute nonsense. But yeah, don't be afraid. Don't be shy. Bernoso says, it's just no depth in quality and character. Flat games like this needs options, but at least the character showed. Cunha had so many mistakes, but he showed up in defense. Yeah, I do agree with that. And that's one of the things, there is no depth in quality and sort of character. And I think you're right. That's where we're missing a little bit of that in the bench. In the bench, we need a bit of a character. We need a bit of a catalyst. I don't know if catalyzer is the correct word, but I don't care. I'm going to use it there because it sounds good. All right. We need a bit of a catalyzer from the bench. Okay. We need a little bit of, just somebody that's just going to come in and just give you a little something, a little attitude, a little, come in, fucking throw somebody to the side, toss them the fuck aside, do a shoulder them into the fucking ground or something like that. Anything, come out with a little bit of blood pumping, a little bit of life, come in, set the tone, stop fucking hitting people, taking them out, do whatever, a little bit of a tone setter we need. I think we're missing that. And I think it's a little bit okay to be missing it at this stage. But what I'm saying is, obviously, down the road, we need to address it because I think for this season, right, and for whatever we got left, I think we can manage. All right, we've made it this far. We are in the position where we're in. All right, we've done well to get here so far. Okay, we've done it with this squad, and we've done it with two different managers playing two different systems in two different ways. Right, so I think we can, for what we have now, I think it is definitely manageable, all right? And I think we can definitely still go on to do things. But this whole sort of criticism thing that I'm talking about here, okay, and sort of picking apart different aspects of the squad is not, it's for next season. It's for after this season is over. It's for what we need to build on because we managed to get back into UCL. We managed to, play European football again. And we start fresh in a new season, okay? I don't want us to then go into next season and have some sort of a shit, mediocre season where we sort of go backwards, all right? I want us, just like how we've been asking to capitalize, okay, on these situations in the Premier League table, I want us to capitalize on sort of what we have in the team and then capitalize for next season so that we can have a more enjoyable, more stronger, better performing season next season. I'm sort of looking at it here and I'm like, listen, if we get fourth or we finish third, Okay? I'm going to be quiet. Coming off of what we did under Ruben at that time, I think 4th and 3rd is a really, really good finish. I think it's above what most people, we were thinking maybe 5th to 6th. All right? That's like 2-3 spots above. We must do everything we can to strengthen ourselves as much as possible so that the next season we cannot go lower. If we finish in 3rd, we can't go lower than 3rd. We need 3rd, or we got to push for 2nd and 1st. And I think we're in the prime position, and that's what we got to do. And we can't miss that. We can't really miss that opportunity. We need to take it. Obviously, there's a lot of things. Ineos got to do their job, which God help us all, because they've done some good things, but they've done some horrible things. So hopefully they don't. Hopefully they just get it more right than wrong. Because that's ultimately what we need. All right, they're not going to be perfect, but ultimately we need them. At the very least, they need to be like 65-70% right and like 30% wrong. If they're 50-50, we're fucked. 60-40 is really cutting it close, and it's not to my liking. All right. Lauren says we got a 22-day break between games coming up. It's absolute madness. Yeah, I mean, I don't. What's that for? Is that like something with internationals or something like that? Why is that? What is it? March international break? And again, this is the sort of thing, like, when you're playing well, which, listen, Carrick is 6 games unbeaten, okay? We have 5 wins and a draw. Unfortunately, not 5 in a row for Frank, and his hair, okay? But, 5 wins and a draw. We're 6. Carrick's is 6 unbeaten. I think United are like 12 games unbeaten in total. And we're unbeaten in 2026. Yeah. So we're moving well. Okay. We're moving well. And when you're moving well, when you're doing good, you don't want to stop. You don't want a 22-day break. You don't want 2 weeks off. You want to keep the ball rolling. And it's always, it's always sort of the opposite with us. Everything is always backwards, It's like we're doing good and these breaks come along and it's like there's always a potential ground to disrupt the rhythm, to disrupt the flow, to disrupt that, that sort of that good feeling, that good momentum. And it sort of tends to happen. And we come back and we look fucking lost again. And it's like we got to start over again and we got to rebuild and refine everything. And sometimes it feels like we almost went back to square one and we start completely new. And then there are times when we've been really shit and you're praying for an international break. You're like, dude, just fucking, we need a break, dude. Just go away, everybody come back, reset, refresh, and then we go out and we play even more worse than we already were. Yeah, man. Renosa says, yeah, man, the starting 11 is like a really good dish. You know how to cook and you impress your guests with, but after a few visits, they realize that you just don't know how to cook anything else. You know what? I really like that analogy. It is something similar to, it is something like that. It is sort of like, yeah, I think that's a good analogy. It's like how, you're always inviting people over, but you're always cooking that one dish. And then after, after a few times, they're like, yo, again? Like, for real? And it's like, yo, how come, how come you don't make anything else? And it's like, well, I don't really know how. Oh, all right. Well, you're good at cooking that, but you can't cook anything else, And then it's always a bit probably of like, you're like, bro, how can you cook that so well, but you can't fucking cook something else? You know what I mean? But yeah, it is a bit like that. The question about the lack of wingers is an interesting one. Dorgu is certainly a big miss. Ahmad, I would also try as a right back option. Well, but the thing is like, again, and we are a bit lucky on Patrick Dorgu, okay? Because he was obviously bought to be a left wing back, and also, if we ever played a 4, technically, many people, before he started performing the way he was performing out on the wing, okay, and like having the impact he was doing and actually looking quite good as an attacking player and not really like a defensive player. But many people would have just, put him in at left back, in a 4. So we're a bit fortunate because if Dorgu wasn't able to do the things he was doing when he started playing in the actual winger role, and he was like incapable of doing that shit, we'd be a bit fucked. Because then it's like, well, we don't got any subs. We don't got any, maybe this people out there, I can hear them now. They're like, Shea Lacey. And sure, I mean, if it came down to it, and we really did, I mean, the kid looks like we could probably use him in some sort of, situations and stuff. But again, to me, for Manchester United, I don't like how it's sort of like our squad is in a position where it's almost like we're down to the bare bones, where we're scraping sort of the bottom of the barrel, that we got to go get an 18-year-old kid who looks like he's got something about him, okay, and definitely has some very, he looks like he's got some potential in there with him, and he's got some bright spots. I don't know how ready he is to be sort of part of the team in that sense, and that he's constantly on the bench and not playing, regular football, sort of in the under 21s right now. But it's, I find it always just like, I find it a bit low, disappointing in a sense that, United are in this position where it's like, unless we go and we grab some kid that is sort of ready, but not really ready, kind of maybe, not really, you know what I mean? And we got to rely on him to maybe, possibly be our savior and sort our shit out if, Ahmad's not playing well, or Acuna's not having a good game, or Mbuemo's not having a good game, or they're tired and they need, a substitute in the game or something like that, or, like I said, they're not playing good. We need somebody to come on to make a difference. And it's like, I know it's a bit part of our history and stuff like that, but again, I just feel like I just don't like how I'm not one of these people, okay? Maybe it's just like a sort of a, I don't know, ADHD type of thing. I don't know if it's ADHD, whatever. Like, I'm one of these people, I'd rather have a surplus of options, an abundance of options, than be sort of looking at the situation, scraping at the bottom of the barrel and saying, well, this is kind of fucked, isn't it? I mean, it's just like you look at sort of the squad in that sense, and you just look at it, and all you could do is go, like, what the fuck am I supposed to do with this shit? You know what I mean? I don't like being in that situation. I'm one of these people. Like, we just got absolutely blasted by a snowstorm. Okay, we got a blizzard. It snowed like almost 2 feet, 16 inches. For you other guys that use the metric system, convert yourselves. Okay, I can't convert for you. All right, it's a lot. All right, it's basically up, almost up to my waist, and then I'm one of these people, like, go get extra gas in the gas tank for the snow blower, okay? Because I'd rather have extra gas in the gas tank that we might not use, but I'd rather have that than, using the snow blower and then saying, shit, we're gonna run out of gas. So now the situation's kind of fucked. Lucky says Glazers, go sort Carlos Baleba and Sandra Sanji, Tonali. I need competition in the man to use. Well, listen, for sure, 110% we need midfielders, okay? And that's going to get, I mean, that's unquestionable. That's obviously, it has to get addressed because Cass is going anyway. And Ugarte will be sold. I'm right now, I think, guaranteed in the squad, if we're looking at it, based on what we're seeing and how things are going, I think Joshua Zirkzee is definitely gone at the end of this season. Casemiro, we know 100% is gone and going, okay? And I think Ugarte is gone. I think those 3 players, and more so the other 2, and not Cass, because Cass, we know for sure he's definitely going. But I think Ugarte and I think Zirkzee, I think those 2 guys are, I think, pretty much 90%. I think they're gone. I think they're gone. I think they're done. I think they will be, sold, moved on. So, again, you're sort of looking at that situation in the midfield. Really, what's left is Kobe Mainu. So, we're gonna need players. We're gonna need to get midfielders for sure. There's no doubt about that. And then the rest of the squad, we'll see. I mean, listen, you never know. Ineos they do tend to seem to be one of these one of these sets of people that, again, maybe they don't have plans on selling Diego Dalot or, I don't know, Amad Diallo or some shit like that. But if some team comes and puts in some sort of a significant, well-priced offer, okay, they will have a shit about it. They will think about it. And maybe a player that we wouldn't necessarily move on or expect to go, maybe they end up going. And then, you sort of go from there as well, because they will listen to it. I mean, if somebody if somebody likes Ahmad and they want to pay for Ahmad and they want to, I don't know. I don't know what the price tag would be on him, but I'm just saying, like, if some team decides that they want to pay 70 million for Ahmad or something like that, I don't know, 60 million, I think they're going to sit there and look at it. And, there could always be the possibility that they decide that that's good money for that type of player, and then they sell him. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but I think it's a possibility with almost sort of really any player or close to any player in the squad. And there's always a potential for that. As long, if somebody has the money and they're willing to make a grand offer, I think they will listen to it. And there's always a possibility that somebody goes that we don't really expect, or we don't really think, we wouldn't put it in sort of our list of players to get rid of. Renosa says, well, in the grand scheme of things, this performance was what we need. We need to get that Champions League money, but look bad doing it. So the argument for signings is still there. Well, you know what? Maybe you're a little bit right on that. Maybe you're a little bit right. Not only, for maybe Ineos and co or so, but maybe even for some of our fans in the fan base, Renoso, because you know what? Because I think me, you, and I think a couple other people obviously in here, I think we sort of agree mostly that the squad is decently good, but the squad can definitely be better, and we need better. We need more better, for the future going in there. And I think if we do, and this is going to sound really wrong, but I think it's also true, if we do, it's almost if we do too well. If we do too well, okay, then I think people, especially in our fan base, they'll get carried away and they'll think like, we've been there before, where people are like, all we need to do is sign a striker and we're winning the league. And it was like, yeah, that wasn't fucking true, was it? That was not accurate at all. We were not one signing away from winning the league. And there was people running around saying, all we need is this one signing and we're winning the league. And that was not accurate, because that's not how it turned out at all. And it became quite clear and obvious that we was like, yeah, it wasn't one signing. We were like fucking 4 signings off of it. And quality ones as well. Yeah. So, yeah, I think, that definitely, because if we do exceptionally well, I know that there's people out there, and they sort of inadvertently, they'll sort of lower the standards from Ineos, in terms of they'll lower the standards for the transfers, the demands for the transfers, because they'll think that, we only need like 2 players and, we'll be challenging for the title right there. And it's like, no. We should push. Even if that's true, we should be looking to get 4 or 5 fucking signings, always, regardless, because it's not even just about us. It's about the competition around us as well. It's not just about our squad. It's not just about how good our players are and, you know, how much you like the players we have and how good you think the players that we have can do. It's also about the other teams around us. What are they going to do? They're going to go and buy more players and get better players and try and be better. So it's like, you know, we have this battle in between our squad dynamic, but then we also have this outside battle with the other squads and their dynamics. And we need to, you know, stay on top of our shit. You know, complacency. We can't get a big head. And like, you know, if we managed to somehow end up finishing in second at the end of this Premier League campaign, okay? There's a quarter fraction of our fan base that says like, sign us these two players, we'll win in the league and we'll win in the Champions League next season. And it's like, no. The plan for what we say now, we say, like Lucky says, get 4 or 5 players. We need 4 or 5 players. Even if we finished in fucking first this season, somehow, in any possible way, okay? Even if from this point on and we somehow finish in first, which is not going to happen, by the way, but I'm just, argument's sake, even if we finish in first, still 4 and 5 players in the summer. It should not fucking change. It should not change. So, it says, bingo, these fans need to be spoon-fed reality. But listen, some fans, all right? Some of our fans are good, okay? But listen, there's all types of people. You'll find them everywhere. But there is definitely a section somewhere out there. 100% they exist. We know they exist. So, yeah. Renosa says, yeah, we're seeing it with Carrick's form. They all thought the boogeyman was gone and we were fixed. Well, that's because they were talking about the formation the whole time and they think, like, you know, it's just automatic gold. And I kept saying, I'm like, listen, it might help, it might change things, it might be a bit more positive, but, you know, this is what happens when people speak in extremes, because the manner in which some of these people were speaking, it was like, literally, I think some of them were like, change the formation to a 4-2-3-1 and it's guaranteed. And I'm like, yeah, see, I don't agree with the way you speak like that. Like, nothing in life is guaranteed. You waking up tomorrow ain't fucking guaranteed, okay? Don't tell me switching from a 3-back to a 4-back is fucking guaranteed top 4. It's not guaranteed. Can it make it better? Can it be improved? Sure. If you want to word it like that and give us your side of the argument like that and give us, you know, and you want to say it that way, okay. But to say guaranteed, like, this ain't fucking shit guaranteed. You know, I ain't taking your guarantee to the fucking bank, okay? Your guarantee means fuck all. Because for all we known, all right, and for all that could have happened, Carrick could have came in and he could have lost fucking 5 matches in a row, all right? Nobody had a fucking clue. All right? And you get to, you know, people have blind faith, all right? People have blind faith. Nobody knows the future. Nobody can predict that shit. People have blind faith. Nobody actually knew what was going to happen, okay? But they backed him, so those people, they get to say, well, I'm right. And it's like, okay, good for you. Go be right. But, yeah, I think, listen, I think it's just, like, you know, Carrick's not going to solve all the problems. There was problems there that was before Carrick, under Ruben, before Ruben, during Ten Hag, and probably before Ten Hag. There's some issues there that the manager, again, the coach, the manager, they are not God, okay? I know we got Carrick Jesus here, all right? We got Jesus Carrick, all right? But it's a joke. And, you know, in reality, they're not miracle workers. They don't got a magic wand. They can only do so much with the tools and the level of tool that they have and the level of the club. The club needs to be doing what the club needs to be doing to take the next step. The manager is there with them. If the club itself is not taking the necessary route or the proper processes to take the next step forward, the manager is not going to take the whole club on his back with the players and the board and put them on his back and fucking carry them to the promised land. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So, real quick, okay? Real quick, Oh, man. We should have gotten those likes, man. We need those likes up. We got 9. Okay. It didn't refresh on me. We could have got more. But if you hit the like button, thank you. Appreciate it. Okay. Real quick to finish out the show, okay? Because it is getting quite late. And we do got to go do things, okay? But I do want to just hit on a couple things. Speed run, real quick, okay? Speed run. Speed run updates. I got you. All right. Benjamin Cesco scoring for Manchester United was a dream, and every time I do it, this feeling is amazing. Well, on Cesco, he should have had 2. He should have scored that second one. I was a bit disappointed in the fact that, listen, he was trying to maybe be a bit too clever, a bit too cheeky. I mean, if it came off, it would have been really nice and brilliant, and I would have enjoyed it. But he tried to dribble the keeper. I think he didn't even have to do all that. I think, listen, that shot that he has, the shot that I know he has, the shot that I've been backing the whole time, that finishing that he has, that I know he's had, when, since we bought him, which is why I was excited, because I think he can just be a fucking force, man. He can be, all right? He can be, I think Cesco has the potential to become sort of one of the most, just killing machine finishers that we've seen and we haven't had for a very long time. I think his finishing is at what it's at now, I'm thinking like 5 years down the line, 6 years down the line, to when he's 27, when he gets to his prime. That the finishing can be fucking deadly. All right. And I think in that situation, I was like, dude, I believe so much in his finishing ability that I was like, dude, if you just shot it from there instead of trying, if you just whipped it around the keeper with your right foot, sort of like how you did it for the first goal, but from further out, instead of trying to dribble around him, I think he would have scored. And I was a bit disappointed in that fact, because I was like, I get what you were trying to do, and it would have came off nice, but I was like, dude, I think if you just fucking hit it with if you just took a touch with the outside of your right foot and fucking hit that bitch to the far post, when he came out like that, I think he was scoring, man. I don't think the keeper's stopping that ball. Michael Carrick was having a little hangout after the game against Everton with his son and friends after full time. Got the lads chilling, hanging out. That must be cool. What an experience that must be. Yeah, I mean, listen, Cunha, I think somebody mentioned it before, okay, but Cunha defensively, sort of attitude-wise, okay. Character-wise, I think Reynoso was the one that mentioned that, all right. Bro, there was a lot of times today he was a bit too selfish, held on to the ball too long, was losing the ball in situations where he was getting caught in 2v1s, 3v1s, getting sort of muscled off the ball in the attack, or slipping, or, whatever it is, or just, bad passes, misreading the runs of Mbeumo and stuff like that. But that sort of fiery in his character, okay, that fieriness, that sort of that bastard, he's a bit of a bastard. I think Mourinho has a quote about being a bastard, okay, but it's a good bastard, okay, it's a bastard that you want your player to have that in him, and he had that, defensively, and he didn't give up. And he fought in that way in the character side. The other side wasn't great for him today, but I think, judging on the fact that I said that I felt like we were a bit flat and there was some disappointing performances from the players attacking wise and intent wise, okay? I think, listen, we're missing Lisandro and his butcherness, okay, and the sort of the fieriness from that. And I think if you take Cunha out of that team, I think not we're 2 times more flat than what we were today. like, I think Cunha being there, just being there, adds a little dynamic to the team, even if he didn't have the greatest of games. Okay, overall, but that sort of Brazilian attitude, the Brazilian fire, that fight in him, it adds a bit of character to our team. So, yeah, I think I'm just sitting here thinking, I'm like, dude, if Licho is not in that game, and maybe we drop a little bit because of that, I'm thinking, imagine Cunha wasn't there either. I would, I think we would have been really, really flat, really, really flat. Carrick says it's only been a few weeks. We can't expect to be perfect. We have a few days to try and improve certain things before the next match. Every match is different. We found a way to win tonight, and I hope we can do the same on Sunday. Yep, and, very good from Carrick and the manager. And listen, I ain't asking him to be perfect, but I do have demands, and I do have expectations, and I do have, I just want the players to give as strong as a performance as possible. So, I don't expect them to be 100% perfect. I ain't asking them to be perfect. I know mistakes will be made. Mistakes are always made. Even if you are the greatest in the world, you will fuck up. It's a part of life. That has nothing to do with how we've done the show today and what we've gone on, the way we've talked about it and spoke about it, and and sort of criticize things and called things out and stuff like that. Okay. But we need to continue to try and improve. Like Carrick is saying, on certain things as before the next match, and every match is definitely different. And on the positive note, listen, we found a way to win tonight. He is right on that. And ultimately, that was the big sort of positive. I mean, it wasn't a great performance, but we speak about this all the time here on this channel. And that's always been sort of the big major point, from my end and from many of you. Okay. It doesn't always have to be pretty. Get us the fucking 3 points. Figure out a way. Get the job done. Let's finish this season with something to be positive about, to look forward into the next season. So yeah. David Moyes says, I have to praise Manchester United for their quick attack, but we've seen them do it recently. They've been doing it really well. They've got forward players who have the ability to run away fast and make chances. Most of the game, we controlled it pretty well, but in that moment, we switched off and gave them that opportunity. Michael Carrick, on his side's performance, he said, it didn't really come easy for us tonight. I've come to Everton for a long time, and every time we come over here, it's tough. I've never had an easy game. I've never had a game where it's all clicked. We expected a tough one tonight. When we played our last game, when we played our last game, it is what it is. The lads have trained really well, and we came in looking and feeling good about the game. It was one of those nights for us. We had to dig deep, and it was a bit of a struggle at times. But sometimes they are the best ones to win. Well, yeah, I mean, listen, nothing that's on that fact, or on that sort of statement, I do sort of agree with the aspect of that. Like, listen, if the easiest things in life are not the most fulfilling things in life, okay? People that have like 6-packs and shit like that, okay? The reason why they show it off and they're like so proud about it is because it's actually not fucking easy to achieve. It's a lot of hard work and dedication and discipline and commitment. So when you get it, it's an overwhelming feeling. And I buy into that. I buy into what Carrick's saying there. Like, yeah, you'll enjoy, if we go and we fucking rout them 3-0 and stuff like that. But you know what? Also at the same time, a game that you sort of maybe work or gives you a bit of a challenge and you overcome, it's also a good thing as well, or it can be a good thing. for sure. So, Lemon's man of the match. I think he had some brilliant saves. And I know Cesco scored the goal, and ultimately that goal, helped us out with the 3 points. But I think Lemons on the other end, if Lemons didn't make a couple of those saves, Cesco's one goal wasn't gonna be enough, and he had to make some really big saves, some brilliant saves, especially that last one where that shit was going it was gonna hit off the bottom of the crossbar. And it was, or it was going to be just under the crossbar, and it was going in, and that was sort of top bins, and he fucking saved it, man. Massive. So I think, and I think they gave him man of the match, but I think he deserves it. He was really, really good today. And he's been bright. He's been a bright spark in the team since coming in. And again, Manchester United recruitment. There's more Sunny Lemons out there, not necessarily, and I'm not talking about in the goalkeeping position. I'm just talking about in general, man. There are players out there. What did we sign him for? 18 million? There are players out there. I don't know. Unfortunately, I think, listen, that goalkeeping scout that we have, I wish we could duplicate him and have him as a scout for strikers, wingers, defenders, midfielders. Because that guy was on the money when scouting Lemons. And we need, we need guys to be like that, so. But listen, we are going to get out of here, okay? Because it is late. It is getting very late, and I got to go take care of some things. So thank you to everybody that smashed the like button. Thank you to everybody that got involved. Big 3 points for Manchester United. Thank you to everybody that got involved in the comments as well. We greatly appreciate your support and your time, and we enjoy the conversations that we have, and we enjoy your opinions. And shout out to anybody that was new and subscribed. We are almost at 3,300, 10 away, and we'll be a little bit closer to our big goal of 3,500 subscribers. We will be live for the foreseeable future throughout the week. I can't tell you the exact days, but if we were to go live during the week, okay, so moving forward, Tuesday and on, all right, it would be at 8:15 p.m. UK time. So, just pop in on YouTube. You should, if you got the notifications on, you'll get the notifications anyway. So if you don't have the noties on, I recommend and I advise for you to put the noties on so that, you get notified. You won't miss a show, and you won't miss any part of the show, okay? But we will be live throughout the week, all right? I'm not going to make any promises and no guarantees on specific days. The times will always be the same. 8:15 p.m. UK time would be the times we go live. I'm just going to sort of call it by ear, okay? Sort of for this week. So we may go live tomorrow. I got to see how things are looking and stuff like that. So just be on the lookout. Just be on the lookout, for that. And, anything else to finish out the show? We got maybe like 2 minutes. Final thoughts, final comments. If you're still watching, if you want to get involved, throw something in there. Final comments, final thoughts for today. Jump in there. Cheetah Obi has scored 4 goals with the under-21s against Leicester's under-21s. Well, all right. Step it up, kid. Come on. We're going to look for you to get a bigger role next season. We could use you. David Moyes on Sunny Lemons. We didn't expect the goalie to do what he did tonight. He was bloody brilliant tonight. For me, he was the best player. It looked like he would take every corner. It made it difficult for us. Yeah, and they didn't do... I criticized it a little bit because I think he's a little bit... I think he could be stronger and be a bit bigger in those situations, but he still got to all the balls and he still dealt with it well, and they were not making it easy for him, right? That Everton were doing Arsenal, Stoke City FC crowding the keeper and, you know, basically surrounding him and trying to like, basically trying to gangbang him, you know, trying to physically assault our goalkeeper. Okay. So, but he did well to deal with it. So, I'm just looking for a couple things. Michael Carrick on Benjamin Cesco, starting him on the bench. He said, it's not always extreme. Sometimes I get why everyone is talking about it and making a big deal of it. But I have got a really good relationship with Ben. That belief he's playing with now is great to see. You know what? I think that's a fair response as well. I mean, listen. Again, this is why I talk about being outsiders and insiders, okay? And we are outsiders. We're not part of the coaching staff. We don't do the training. We're not with them on a day-to-day basis. Okay? So sometimes you know, it is a bit extreme from the outside, and you know, but listen, I mean, Cesco has clearly he's clearly more confident, he's clearly more positive. It's clearly coming off, okay? Because he's scoring more goals now. He's having bigger impacts in the game. So, you know, maybe it's a bit frustrating because we would like to see him start, and maybe we feel like he deserves to start. But at the same time, I also think that it's not necessarily a bad thing, because whatever Carrick's doing and, you know, discussions with him and it's working. Okay, he is improving, he is getting better, he is making an impact. So it's not like it's you know, and I think Cesco has a good attitude as well. I don't think he's one of these players that's going to be like a little bit of a sourpuss throwing a bitch fit. Okay, he seems sort of like a humble, you know, kind of kid in terms of that, like, he sort of respects the processes and stuff like that. And I think Carrick has good respect between him and Cesco. So I think he's just like, you know, enjoying his role right now. And I think he's probably playing in a way where he believes in sort of, I guess, the process. You know, I guess Carrick has sort of laid out some sort of a process that they're going to go through. And I think he's bought into it. So yeah. But all right, enough for today. We're gonna get out of here. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate you very, very much. Be good, stay safe, have a good night, enjoy yourselves. I think we'll be live tomorrow, but no guarantees. So we'll see. But we'll be live throughout the week, okay? So just, you know, prime time, you know, YouTube times, 8:15 p.m. UK. If we are going to go live, we will be live. All right, so we'll see how it goes. I will say that, you know, if it's not tomorrow, then most likely Wednesday. I'm not going to do like huge gaps in between, but let me just check something real quick before I even say that, okay? Because if there's some sort of football in between during the week, then we don't really want to do that. So there is Champions League tomorrow, okay? So maybe not tomorrow, but there's also Champions League on Wednesday. All right. We'll see. We'll figure it out. Just keep an eye out. Have the notifications on. Okay, you have the noties on. You'll be fine. But I don't have to tell you the schedule. All right. Everybody, take care. Good night. Stay safe. Thank you for getting involved, and thank you for hitting the like button, supporting the channel. Greatly appreciate every single one of you. GGMU plus 3 points, and we are sitting in the table. I didn't even do the table talk, but we are sitting in the table back and forth, obviously. But we are 3 points behind Villa now, okay, in that third spot. We are 3-point cushion on Chelsea now. And we are 3-point cushion on Liverpool as well. So, very good. You know, we could use one more of these, and it's going to be looking real great for us. So, we'll talk really soon. Take care. Have a good night.